Murder.
Murder.
Unjust killing. Yeah, murder.
You can defend yourself, or if someone does something irreprehensible.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it talks about that. Go stroke for strokes and then line for line. You know what I'm saying? What about pork? You eat pork? Like pepperoni pizza? You like ham? Yeah. You know that's in the laws of God?
I've heard it for the Quran, but I have not seen it.
Well, you know, the Quran came 600 years after the canonization of the Bible. Okay. So they got a lot of their ideals and a lot of what Muhammad, quote unquote Muhammad, I don't even want to call him a prophet because he didn't prophesy anything, but Muhammad got a lot of his ideals from the quote unquote Jewish people at the time. So not eating pork and not eating swine actually came from the Torah, you know, the first 5 books of the Bible. So that's Leviticus 11 gives you the prescribing of the laws concerning your diet. So eating pork is something we got to cut out if you follow Christ, because we can read in eschatological scriptures if you're eating abominable foods, and it namely brings out pork because God knew that pork would be something that His people would be very heavily endowed in. So if you're eating pork in these last days, brother, you're basically owning yourself for destruction. That's what it says in the eschatological scriptures of Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15.
Isaiah
chapter 66, verse 15. It says those eating the... But you want to get there real quick?
Yeah, I was about to grab.
Yeah, get that real quick. Because a lot of people don't believe us when we say that, but like, God is not a liar. He's not a man that He should lie.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, He is. He's in all things.
Even if you sneak at pork.
Yeah, that's true.
Isaiah what?
I think it's Isaiah chapter 66, verse 15.
66,
It's like at the bottom. Those eating the abomination in the mouth shall be consumed.
66, verse 16.
Isaiah.
What should you eat instead of pork?
Oh, this is Isaiah.
What do you say?
What should you eat instead of pork?
Anything in Leviticus 11 that classifies any food for you.
66.
Well, hold on, we got to bring this out for this brother, and we'll be right with you.
You said 66 verse
66
what?
verse 15.
Verse 15?
Yeah.
For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with His chariots like a whirlwind to render His anger with fury and His rebuke with flames of fire. Let me keep going.
Keep going. I'm sorry. Yeah.
For by fire and by His sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many.
So it's going to be many people getting cut off in the last days when the day of vengeance is there. You know, bring it out.
They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens, behind one tree, in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord.
So when He's coming back for that day of vengeance, you're eating the abominable foods, which are in Leviticus 11, of the mouse, when the mouse goes into the ferret family, so anything from the ferret family, and then swine in itself, you render yourself to destruction.
Foods like that, they're not good for you.
You're not.
It's almost like God's way of telling you, don't eat it.
Don't eat it. Yeah. You know, it says the laws of God are perfect, as it says in Romans chapter 7.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really just sold me on the Bible, God in general.
Right.
Just seeing how if you just follow His word, your life's going to have a very small amount of issues.
That's right.
Most of the issues you go through, some things you can't control,
Right.
but a lot of it's also just self-inflicted. So
Right.
you can avoid those things, stick to the word.
That's right. Do you try to keep the Sabbath?
Yeah, I've tried to,
Right.
but obviously I'm out here working today.
Well, so you believe Sunday is the Sabbath?
You know what? That's the thing.
First day.
I lived in D.C. I was talking to another one of y'all brothers. Asked me, where does it say the Sabbath in the Bible? I couldn't give my answer.
Right.
So I think that's probably where you're going.
Well, I'm not saying the Sabbath is in the Bible. Like Sunday, he asked where Sunday is
He
in the
asked me
Bible.
where Sunday was mentioned.
Yeah, it's not mentioned.
Yeah.
Because when you go back into the Bass of Titus, when you actually look at how the Julian calendar was formulated, which turned to the Gregorian calendar, Sunday was basically sun worship. And you can see that demonized in Ezekiel chapter 8 when our ancestors used to worship the sun. Like literally used to go out on the cliffs at the early day and literally cry before the sun and wave towards it, basically saying, you know, because back then if you were out of the way of understanding and didn't know anything, you would think that the sun is your God because it's bringing, you can see stuff. It's bringing life to your crops agriculturally because agriculturally the Israelites were very inclined into, you know what I'm saying, being in Jerusalem, being the most fertile part of the land. So you would think that that is your God, you understand? So yeah, keeping the Sabbath day, brother, I would say that, just, continually work trying to do that. Christ said, I'm the Lord of the Sabbath. You know what I'm saying? So that high holy day is very much important. So into your walk with Christ, you know what I'm saying? That's the way that you serve yourself away from everybody. You know what I'm saying? But do you have anything that doesn't keep you, or all right, this is a quick question. Do you believe that the Black, Hispanic, and Native American populace are children of Israel on the Western Hemisphere of the world?
Say it again,
The Black, Hispanic, and Native American populace, according to patriarchy, do you believe that they are the children of Israel in the Western Hemisphere of the world?
I've been done it.
Yeah. So, would you believe that if I read some verses that kind of like speaking to the attesting of the transatlantic slave trade? Do you believe that's in the Bible?
Transatlantic slave trade?
Translated slave
Yeah, if you
trade.
can read some verses.
Get that Deuteronomy 26.
This is the book.
Is it in Deuteronomy?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I believe
You believe it?
I can't quote it for you, but I've read through Deuteronomy. I've heard some of the things along the lines of what you're saying, so I can see that.
So do you want us to still read it, or do you still read it? All right, bring it up.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68.
Bring it up.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
And when you go back into that English phraseology of no one should buy you, no one is going to redeem you out of that situation. So you're not going to be redeemed out of that situation. What happened? We have to literally wait until the Emancipation Proclamation in 1856 for that to be like over with. You know what I'm saying? But when God pronounces a judgment onto you, that judgment is going to happen regardless of whether or not you believe it. As it says in Romans 3, it says your disbelief, like paraphrasing, it says your disbelief basically like inexcuse what God is like saying. It says his word is not going to come back onto the void. So what he pronounces is going to happen. You know, so if he said y'all going to go into slave ships for breaking my law, you're going to go into slave ships for breaking the laws of God, which what we did, because we believe that the African American man, the Jamaican man, and the Haitian man are descendants of the children of Israel. You know what I'm saying? If you do history back on the ancient cartography, back in like the 1400s and the 1500s, they literally called Western Africa Yahawadan Tariya, which basically means the land of the Jews, where the Negro land map comes from. So if it was called the land of the Jews before it became the Negro land map, and we were taken from the western shores of Africa, wouldn't remnants of those people still be there? Which would make sense. If you look back into the Akan tribe and the Ashanti tribe, they had mercy seats in which they would sit their kings upon that had cherubs flying above it. So those are like archaeological pieces that show that the Ashanti were also Levitical priests, and that they were also of the southern kingdom because of their traditions in which they governed themselves. Now, they weren't following the laws wholeheartedly, but they were trying to keep certain traditions because, I mean, that stuck with you. Like, the traditions of your family is going to stick with you. But it's prophesied in Jeremiah 17 that we would fall away from our understanding. We would fall away from our heritage. So, like I said, what God says is going to happen. So you're going to fall away out of that heritage that you were once keeping. You know, thus rendering you into going into sin. You know, do you know what sin is by any chance? A lot of brothers don't know what sin is.
I would say
Actually, Scott, you would get that 1 John 3. Real quick. You want me to get it?
Thank you.
We gonna read the because when you ask I love asking Christians that question because it's like I ain't poking at you or saying you know, but like they don't be knowing what sin is, but the Bible literally tells you definitively what sin is objectively. Right, bring it up.
This is the book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Bring it up.
For whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law.
That's right.
For sin is the transgression of the law.
So it says sin is the transgression of the law. So when we're breaking God's laws, we in sin. You know, and yeah, you can say like that's going against what God said, but yeah, literally everything that God said for you to do prescriptively is in the Old Testament, quote unquote Old Testament, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. In Nehemiah 8, it literally enjoins to saying it's the book of Moses, but then later on saying within the same verse that it's the laws of God. So the laws of Moses are literally the laws of God because it was written by the fingers of Moses. Yeah, that's what sin is. The way that sin is done. You know, Christ is literally wanting us to come back onto his commandments that he received from his Father. That's how we're going to receive eternal life. So just like how you said you're supposed to have faith the Mashiach Yahushua, who really calls Jesus Christ, you're also supposed to have the works coupled with it. It says faith without works is dead.
Got a precept.
You know what I'm saying? Bring it up.
It's the book of 1 John chapter 2, verse 1. My little children, these things write I unto you, that ye sin not.
That's right.
And if any man sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Yahushua HaMashiach, the righteous.
That's right. So he's your mediator. Like he's your, how people say, your Johnny Cochran in the sky.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Between being that mediator between you and God. You know, because right now God has his face set against, you know, the children of Israel right now. Upon all of humanity, because heathens are wicked as hell. But namely, he said that he was going to judge the children of Israel and he was going to be their God. You know what I'm saying? He's the God of the Israelites and he's the God of Hebrews. You know what I'm saying? Yes, and then like, do you believe that the Gentiles of the New Testament are Israelites or not?
I don't see how they could justify that.
Them not being Israelites? Or
When you say Gentile, you define that?
So the word Gentile, do you believe that the word Gentile means just a nation, or do you believe it's a non-Jew at all times?
The way it's been explained to me, a non-Jew,
A non-Jew? Do you believe that?
I've done a lot of research.
All right, so get 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Be ye not
This is
ignorant.
specifically about Gentiles.
This is how the word Gentile can't necessarily mean non-Jew.
Okay.
It depends on the context in which it's being utilized in, right? So what we believe and what the Bible actually teaches through the hermeneutics is given contextually, Gentiles receiving salvation are Israelite foreigners, but Gentiles receiving damnation, receiving basically the damnation are non-Israelites, right? Bring it out.
Which
1 Corinthians chapter, right here, yup, verse 1.
verse 1.
Yup.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Hamashiach.
Okay, so now go to verse chapter 12. I'm sorry. So that verse right there is instantiating that the Corinthians were Israelites, because he said all of your fathers walked underneath the cloud with Moses. When you look at the Old Testament, during the chronology of the Israelites, they were under the cloud with Moses. Now get 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
Chapter 12, verse 1.
Yep.
Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols until even as ye were led.
That's right. So it says you were carried on to, you were a Gentile when you were carried away onto idols.
Right.
So when Israelites, they fall out of the way of understanding and they go into idolatry, they're seen as being like nations. You're seen as being like a heathen. Christ says if you go to your brother and you try to rectify things with him once, but twice, and you bring elders of the church and he still doesn't rectify, you treat him like a damn heathen. That's what Christ said out of his own mouth. So Paul is also saying, you're going into idolatry when you're going off into or you're seen as a Gentile when you're going off into idolatry. So that just proves right there that the Gentiles that you see being reconciled back onto God, to be reconciled back onto something, that means you had to be apart from it at one point in time. So being reconciled onto God, those Gentiles are actually Israelite foreigners, or those that are into the Greek customs at that time. In Greco-Roman, in the Greco-Roman period. Because the Hellenization of the Jews happened for about 300 years with the Maccabean. You ever heard of the Maccabees and stuff like that? Yeah. Basically, the Maccabees were basically the core sect of Jews that basically stood up against the Greco-Roman world and the Greek period at that time. They basically, didn't bow the knee and didn't want to keep the customs, but they were the family that all the other Jews looked at for guidance because they didn't stand down.
What type of church
Maccabees,
is
yup.
this?
Maccabees, yup.
Body in Christ, man.
That's right.
Body in Christ.
So that's proven that Gentile can also mean an Israelite as well. So if a person walks up to you and says that Gentiles in the New Testament are not Israelites, you can't necessarily say that given the context. Context means a lot. Context literally proves what the word is actually saying. You know? So,
And what verse was that?
that was the book of First Corinthians chapter 12 verse 1 and 2. So do you have any questions about like anything like you heard in Hebrews like before?
I've heard of it before.
Right. Do you disagree with like anything of the doctrine, like anything in the Bible that
I
you
can't
disagree with?
I don't disagree with anything in the Bible. Yeah, I can't really tell you anything I disagree with. I lived in DC, so I used to always see it.
They be heavy on this.
You originally from Madison? Or-
I was born in Chicago but raised here. So I came up here when I was like in second grade. Raz, you
I was born in Chicago, but I was raised out here.
got a verse?
Yeah, I got something on Mattathias.
Okay.
That's the book of First Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 19.
That's right.
Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law in the ordinances.
That's right. So even before Christ was on the scene, Jews knew that they had to not forsake the ordinances because doing that led us into sin. Doing that is going to lead nations being above you, you not being the hegemony of the world, right? And I want to read a book out of the book of Revelations to you because these are the people we see being redeemed in the end all be all, right? This is the book of Revelation, chapter 14, verse 12.
Bring it out.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of a Mashiach Yahushua, who we call Jesus. It says faith in Jesus, but I just wanted to say the real name to you because uttering things in Hebrew means way more than
Oh, I have a
uttering
question.
things in English. You know what I'm saying? The apostles weren't walking around calling him Jesus. Be real. You know, I mean, they were speaking Hebrew. They had a Hebrew dialect. They spoke to him in Hebrew, so he would have a Hebrew name. You know, so yeah, his name in Hebrew, Christ is the Mashiach Yahushua. Mashiach basically means the anointed, and Yahushua is his name because Joshua rendered it into the Paleo Hebrew is Yahushua. Yeah. With no vowel points, right? Vowels.